So, hello everyone. I am going to be showing you a behind the scenes look of how I kind of do a little bit of compare and contrast of different school roles. So, you may not know, but I'm an education consultant and I focus on building data driven mental health teams. And so, one of the first steps that we take is finding out who our key players are and who can serve on this school mental health team. Now, all schools are different in the services and the roles that they provide. So, you might have one school that has a school counselor and a school psychologist, and then you go over to another school and they have a social worker and a family liaison. So it's not always going to be the same people that are on this team. And that's really up to you and your school team and what you feel like best works for you. So, I wanted to use a real life example. So, I searched some local school districts to find some job roles that might serve onto a school mental health team. And we're going to look and see where we see some comparisons. And then I want us to brainstorm together on what are some ways that they could collaborate together. So I'm going to pull up, let's see, let's pull up the Family Advocate first. So, and I'll move my little box out the way. All right. So for the Family Advocate, now this particular job description was for a early childhood, but we're going to pretend that this is for either middle school or high school because those were the positions for the others that I saw. So on here, I did see that. Out of all of the positions or roles and responsibilities that the family advocate had, that one of them was providing resources in referrals to families as requested to support family partnership plans. And so the other roles that I had that we're going to look at in a second was for a school psychologist, and the other is for an ISS teacher. So already I'm thinking about those family partnerships. Um, Whenever a school is getting partnerships, more than likely it's for the needs, specific needs of the students within their schools. And a lot of times it could be basic needs. However, I'm thinking for a family of a student that might be considered tier three or have tier three challenges, they might need some additional supports that are probably offered by the partnerships that that school has. So that family advocate is going to be talking to that student that more than likely is being seen by the school psychologist as well. Down here, it says that the family advocate conducts home visits as necessary. Now, that also has me thinking about school social workers and how social workers are notorious for doing home visits and getting more information on family needs. Um, so even though I don't have that job description up, that's important to know. But earlier on, where it says support and assisting program wide events, that is a lot of what a school counselor does. So all in all, typically the role of a family advocate, it aligns a lot with school counselors, school secretaries, and school social workers. But I know that because I have coordinated with those people in my own experience as being a school counselor. But if you don't know that, then there might be times where that gets overlooked and you might lose out on the opportunity to take your servicing to the next level. Next up, we're going to bring up the school psychologist. Let's make this bigger. Oh, make this bigger. Okay. So for the school psychologist, um, one of the things that I wanted to bring up was that they offer brief targeted treatment um, for single issues. And so, again, this is very similar for what you would see for a social worker um, or even a school counselor. It says provide counseling to a wide variety of groups and individuals. Again, counselors and social workers, right? Understanding, they must have a further the understanding of human growth and development, which goes into the next job role we're going to look into, which is the ISS teacher. But overall, when we are looking at school psychologists, there's a lot of overlap between school counselors, in school therapists, when we talk about, courses of treatment and things of that nature, and then your school social workers. So let's take a look at the in school detention suspension aid, which I feel like I have to put that caveat out there, that I am not a person that is for ISS. I believe that schools that have um, or that utilize ISS, we know that uh, typically ISS is supposed to be, how do I want to word this? Basically, when we talk about tier three, right? Tier three, when we talk about a student that has tier three challenges or that exemplifies tier three behavior, this is a student that either is so unsafe that they need additional supports or one on one individual supports, or somebody, when I'm talking about behavior, social emotional, or someone that just needs almost one-to-one care, pretty much. Now, when we look at an MTSS triangle, right, tier three should only be about 5% of your school population. Now, depending on how many students you have enrolled at your school, because there are larger schools out there that have close to 800 to 1,000 students, um, that 5% can still seem like a lot. However, it shouldn't be half of your school. If dang near half of your school is receiving ISS, then that means that there are some gaps to fill within your tier one and or tier two services. So there's ways to get out of ISS or using the practice of ISS, but there does have to be certain things put into place. Like I said, those tier one and tier two supports, right? In order to kind of filter out your in school suspension, but that's a whole nother discussion. So when I looked at this job description, some things that I saw that might overlap with another position, where that the ISS teacher is going to attend to and guide individual activities, assignments, and or materials. And it goes further to say math, reading, but also look at that behavioral skills. So that's going to be similar to what a school psych is doing as far as providing that individual behavioral support. Because school psychs not only help with academic development, but they have a lot of knowledge with behavioral support as well too. So also another thing I wanted to point out is, let's see, it says uh, communicates with various personnel for the purpose of assisting in evaluating progress. So, a school psychologist, a lot of what they're doing is trying to see where the progress is in what they're doing with that student. So, an ISS teacher is going to be doing that as well, tracking, providing intervention, and then seeing how well it goes over. So, they're going to be providing a lot of data. And then also historically, we know that most students that are referred for things like ISS are typically our SPED students, unfortunately. But if we know that, then there should be a lot of communication between a school psychologist and an ISS teacher. Last two things that I wanted to highlight from this job description was that the ISS teacher monitors students individually and or in small groups with lesson assignments, accommodations or modifications. So we're walking into school counselor territory, with the sometimes with the accommodations or modifications, and school psychologists as well with the accommodations and modifications, but also like the small groups, lessons and assignments. And then down at the bottom where it says the ISS teacher provides verbal and or written feedback of observations for the purpose of informing teachers and parents of students' progress. So, even back to the family advocate, there's going to be a lot of communication to the parents and the family, and then the ISS teacher is doing that as well. So, the ISS teacher and the family advocate might be collaborating on providing or communicating what some resources or partnerships that the school has that that student and family may benefit from. Okay, so let's back up and think about this again. All three positions. When we talk about servicing students, right, I like to use the MTSS model. So actually, when I'm looking at it, I'm seeing that the family advocate is more so going to be servicing tier one because they're going to be providing those whole school level programs and resources and trying to communicate with all parents. When I look at ISS, like I said, ISS is really when you have overflowing your tier three. So it's going to be about tier two and tier three. And then for the school psychologists, they're mainly going to service with tier three. So I want you to think about what are ways in those roles that I have already highlighted or brought out, what are ways that they could collaborate? Because there's a couple different ways that I'm noticing, and you may even think about something that I didn't even realize the first time. So, at least for the school psychologist, I'm seeing that because, again, we know historically when we look at our student discipline data, most of those students, or a large percentage of those students, unfortunately, are our students that need special education services. Um, and oftentimes, school psychologists are the ones that are doing the not the referral, but the evaluation to see if a student is a fit for special education services. So, but even before that point, when we're just talking about looking at data and providing some type of intervention that works for a student, your school psychologist is a great resource for that because they have a lot of education on learning psychology. And so, as this ISS teacher is trying to provide support for these students, there's an opportunity for the ISS teacher to collaborate with the school psychologist and discuss some either skills that they could practice with the students that are in ISS, a specific individual plan for a student um, to keep them out of ISS, really. um, and let me see. Uh, and also, there might be some opportunities for that ISS teacher to provide some preventative supports for that students, whether it's check in, check out, or something of that nature, um, to help progress monitor and make sure that those students that are reoccurring in ISS um, are coming in there less because that is the goal. You don't want students sitting in ISS all year, right? They have to learn the skills that are needed for them to be successful in a classroom. And a school psychologist can help with providing those strategies. Also, and like I said, both of them also could be consulting with the teachers in order to help provide the strategies for them and things that might work for that student. So let me go over to the family advocate. Again, the family advocate is going to be basically the hub of resources and communication to parents. And they are going to be the person that's all knowing about the resources that the school has. And as the school psychologist, again, a school can only provide so many resources. So, therefore, a family advocate might be a great resource to provide or help that parent find the resources that they need within the community. And so that's a great way to collaborate at a parent meeting and giving that information that way, as well as let's think about it the other way. A family advocate might collaborate with the ISS teacher in basically there might be some additional supports that that student needs that's in ISS, and the family advocate can be the one to connect those parents and families with those resources that you have at the school. Let's see. And for the ISS teacher, I think I covered both. But comment down below, what are some other ways that you could see these three roles interacting? Really, and for the schools that I would work with, I would suggest that these teams, the school mental health team, would meet at least once a week, because a lot of the students that are coming up within services or that are in ISS or that are needing additional resources are going to be the same pot of students. So, therefore, when you're able to name that, address what the presenting challenges are for those individual students, you're able to make preventative plans for these students. Like, yes, you want to address what the issue is now and maybe providing some type of resource for them now, but then also thinking forward to say, hey, we know that this student for the past couple of months has had a lot of issues with fighting, and there's things that are going on at home. How can we support this student with the resources that we have as a school and with the resources we have as far as these positions? How can we provide resources to that student that are going to help them be successful in the long run? And that is basically the whole purpose of a school mental health team. It's just making sure that in a social, emotional, mental health aspect, what resources can we utilize together to provide the most efficient support for our students? So, um, again, if you are interested, I do provide a free workshop on this called the Three Transformations of a School Mental Health Team. I believe that's available now. So look in my link tree for the registration for that conference. But also, again, I want to see your comments down below. How can these three positions collaborate together? What are your thoughts? All right. Until next time.